Okay, today we have the privilege of hearing from someone that I just adore. I love. They've been part of the inner circle, which is something that I do with John Maxwell. And I just seen her live it, apply it, put it into her leadership. Loredana, maybe that's why you're one of the top market centers at Keller Williams Realty International. I mean, think about all these market centers, and you're like number one out of all of them in profits. Isn't that why we have business, for heaven's sakes? And I know more than anybody that leadership, everything rises and falls on leadership. Leaders get results. So let's go to that. Why do you think it's important that leaders actually grow?
Well, because this is not a destination, right? This is a journey. And I mean, as a leader, our number one job is to grow ourselves, right? We can't produce results unless we make a commitment to grow ourselves consistently. And what I would say is that in addition to having the opportunity of leading the number one market center in the world in profitability, I have the opportunity to be in business with and leading three other market centers in Georgia. All four are in the top 80 in the world in profitability. And I'm so proud of the leaders that we get to work with every day. And honestly, my biggest fear is to not be a lid to anyone. This is what keeps me up at night, to not be a lid to anyone. And in order for that to happen, I constantly have to work on my validity and increase my leadership skills. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's very important because we know that your business grows to the extent that you do. I wrote that as a bold law. And yet I see, and I've talked to many leaders about being part of the mentorship group. What have you gotten out of the mentorship group?
Oh my God. What have I not gotten? I feel like I've gotten everything, right? Honestly, everything that I expected and more, right? So the inner circle has stretched me, has challenged me, and honestly has refined me in ways I could not have done alone. And being coached, honestly, Diana, by you, and I say coached slash mentored, right? There's a difference there, right? Um, just having you close in my world and learning directly from John has simply been transformational. It's not just about knowledge, right? It's about proximity. And when you surround yourself with people who live at the highest standard, you naturally rise with them. And I'll give you an example. I was blown away. I was on vacation skiing with my family, and you called me just to wish me like happy holidays. And again, it was such an aha for me. First of all, I appreciated the call, right? We talk about proximity, but it was such an aha for me. We sent like, I don't even know how many text messages with happy holidays, but how many people do we truly connect with in these times? And not only that you called me, you spent half an hour with me on the phone. And it's not like you don't, I mean, you serve so many leaders, but to me, it was a leadership lesson because if you can do it at that level, that such a high level, and you live, at your highest standard and you practice what you preach, what's holding me back to do the same? Right. And this is just a small example, and yet it goes such a long way. So thank you for
Well,
that.
you're very welcome. You had a question. And as leaders, that's the one thing that I've noticed, Loredana, that you ask questions of John and of myself, and we get answers. And yet I found many leaders, they don't have time. I've heard they don't have time. Money is an issue. They don't want to they're letting their checkbook do their thinking for them. Why do you think people don't join the inner circle?
Hmm. You know, what I've learned myself, and obviously we all go through different journey. We all go through a journey through different cycles. I don't think anyone has a time management problem. I think we all have a priority management problem, right?
That is true.
There is not a time management problem. There's a priority management problem. And I always ask myself, well, everybody on this planet has 24 hours in a day. What will help me make the most impact, right? And it's not just giving. What am I forcing myself to receive, and who am I becoming so that I can give? And a few years ago, I went through a phase in which honestly, I did not have 5 minutes not blocked on my calendar throughout the day. And what I found was I didn't have thinking time. And I thought that it's so easy to put on the I put an hour on my calendar thinking time. And guess what? It didn't work that way. Thoughts didn't stop coming. I'm like, okay, now 12 o'clock thinking time. And I was looking at a blank page to try to take notes. And I'm like, where are my thoughts? This needs to, right? And yet they didn't come. So what I realized was my calendar was filled with noise instead of priorities, right? And I was actually in and what I mean by that is everything seems important, everything seems urgent, and yet I didn't take enough time to pour into myself to be able to learn how to prioritize better, right? So I don't think it's time. I don't think it's money. I think it's a priority challenge. And I think everybody needs to hear that once we learn how to prioritize the right way, honestly, everything else becomes easier. It becomes doable. We can find the time to do everything that matters.
Isn't that true? And that's with the bold law that it's not about selling real estate. It's not about running an office. It's not about growing a business. It's about following a schedule and having that schedule have the right priorities in it. That's life. That's business. That's everything, every relationship. We literally are preparing or repairing, right? Doesn't matter. So I love what you're saying about the priorities. And we give the entire year, every single call, when it's going to be, what time it is, who's doing it. And one of our calls was on priorities. So it is amazing. You think about the guru of leadership. I mean, if you're going to learn, why would you not learn? They're calling him the GOAT of leadership now, greatest of all times. And you have an opportunity for such a little teeny tiny amount to learn from him. And with only so few people in the inner circle, he knows you by name. Yeah. He knows who you are. He has your bio. By the time the year is over, he knows where you're at, what you've been doing, how it's done. I mean, you can go hearing with thousands of other people and never have a question answered, right? And unless you get knowledge, yet, Loredana, you're raising your leadership lid. How many leaders do you think have their lid to where they're holding their people down instead of raising theirs, bringing their people up?
100%. We talk a lot about how do we help our people in our world grow. And honestly, the first question we need to ask ourselves, what are we doing about growing ourselves first, right? Because it's almost impossible to give. It's impossible to give what you don't have, right? And I want you to imagine, Dianna, you met Zig Ziglar, right? And I want you to imagine, right, while he was alive, that he had created this small inner circle group and he wanted to pour into people, and he invited you to be part of it. And if you said no, how would you feel today about you saying no? I'm not saying that he did. What I'm saying is I don't want to regret having the opportunity of being in, honestly, your world, John's world, Tony's world, right? Just because I didn't have time. I didn't make time. And honestly, if you can't make the calls, there's a recording, right? Sometimes I can't make the calls, but I'm not going to make the decision not being part of this amazing mentorship program just because I can't make 5 calls or I can make it to one event, right? There's way more than just the monthly schedule. There's the relationship, the proximity, the the growth that you experience, the people that you meet, the leadership lessons that you learn, right? And it also is the accountability. And what I mean by that, yeah, it's not about people calling you. The accountability that honestly being in that room, if you say you're gonna do something, you better do it next time. Because guess what? Everybody's showing up at a high level. You cannot show up not doing the things you said you're going to do. So it's like a forced accountability for me.
Yeah, the fun part is that your business grows to the extent that you do. So maybe that's why you're the number one in the world, right? I mean, look, you're in Tony's cadre group, learning how to be a better coach, right? You're in everything that we do, you're part of it, the inner circle. We just name it, you're going, I'm in. So I think there's a lesson here if we think about it. But let's talk about those events, because there are 3 events and then 2 calls every month. What was your favorite event? I want to know.
Oh my goodness. And it's not because it's the most recent. I'll tell you why it was my favorite event. It was the Park City in Utah was my favorite one. And I'll tell you why. Yeah, it was fun. We got to ride the bobsled. We got to meet a lot of amazing people. We got to dive deep into Olympians' minds, right? And learned a lot. But the reason why this was my favorite event was because it actually pushed me out of of my comfort zone, and it helped me conquer some fears that honestly, not being part of a group like that and seeing, well, if everybody's doing it, I mean, I just cannot not show up, right? So I'll give you an example. My daughter and I already have tickets, right, to how do you call that sport that you jump off an airplane? Yeah, oh my goodness.
Skydiving.
Skydiving, yeah. So we have tickets to go skydiving. And honestly, I have this fear. I'm not afraid of heights, but I just have this fear of, why would I take the risk? Why would I do all these things? And yet I know it would be a memorable experience. Well, my daughter is 21. Of course she's going to be fine, because at 21, we don't have the same fear as we have, right? But this is what it helped me do. So riding that bobsled, honestly, I am not practicing sports like that. I am not a fan of roller coasters. I'm not living my life in risk. Right. However, it has a different taste when you do that. So obviously I put myself in a position to have to say yes. Honestly, it was the most terrifying minute of my entire life, and yet the most transformational. And this is why. You and I talked about riding 10 lessons, right? From riding the bobsled. Well, that thing, I mean, you ride with 75 miles an hour or whatever the speed is. Yeah. But it taught me so many lessons. And number one is, honestly, there is no reward without risk.
Yeah. That's
right.
A good one.
You have to conquer your fear and just do it. I mean, just do it. Yes, there's risk in anything. If you leave your house, it's going to be risky.
You're going down that bobsled track 4 Gs. I mean, if people can you're 180 degrees on your side through many of the turns. The first 4 pretty good, but by that 15th slide, that turn, you're actually almost like this going down, and then you turn right away. So you've got a little over a mile. You've got 15 turns that you make, and you're literally on most of them from number about 8 down at 180 degrees or more. And you don't even realize that you're going so doggone fast. I mean, it's kind of like leadership. It's rarely a smooth ride. It's fast. It's uncertain. It requires trust. And yet, as we listened to all those Olympians tell their story, I mean, there was so much. I mean, our own concert with the organist that goes around the world playing some of the largest organs in the world. I mean, we've got
It
to
is.
find out that we have leadership in our DNA, and you guys got that big fan of all the leaders. Who were some of the leaders that you were related to?
Well, I would say Tony Kelly, Tom Kelly, Tom Kelly.
Uncle.
Tom Kelly, the lessons he shared from interviewing Olympians in their defining moments, you have to you have to learn how to ask questions to capture the lesson, right? And to capture the moment and then to pass it on. And then, Devon Harris, oh my goodness. Like, I mean, he is just an inspiration. He's an international speaker, but, he having the opportunity to literally sit down and have dinner with him and truly understand what led him through all the challenges, right? And achieve things that nobody thought possible. And honestly, on the bobsled, the competition, right? And the competition pushes you to do things that have never been done before, or the competition is just, it's not that you want to prove that you're better. It's just, it pushes you to overcome your limits. Right. And what's interesting, about our competition, the girls and the boys, right? And it was our team actually had the record for that time, which was 55.7 seconds.
I know you beat us. You beat us by 3 seconds. 3 seconds. It was like, are you kidding? They beat us by 3 seconds. Tony and I were going, let's do it again. Let's do it again.
But can I share why? Because it goes back to the inner circle. So we had this competition, and you study physics and you understand physics. And this is what they said. Well, the more weight you put on that bobsled, the faster it goes, right? So we had the boys who obviously their weight was more than ours, and we had the girls. And we asked the person that was actually running the place, we said, we've got to wait. So they went first. They did the record for the day up to that moment. So they did 56.1 seconds, right? And then here we come. We said, I went to that person. I said, sir, I don't know what needs to happen, but I know we need to win. And he said, it was funny. And he said to me, look, I don't know what to say about that. They have a lot of weight, right? So I hope you do. Good luck. Then here comes Devon Harris, and he said, I got you.
Yeah.
And guess what he did?
He pushed.
He pulled the bobsled, and then he pushed with all his force. That was the first time when he pushed the bobsled since 1998. This is an Olympian, right? And guess what? Despite the fact that the physics, right, our weight and right, it's the people around you. Who you have in your corner matters.
That's true.
Oh my goodness, they can help you defy all odds. We didn't have any odds to win. And yet we won. And not only that we won, we had the record for that day. So again, I think I just love the lessons that I've learned. And I love all the, it goes back to who are you securing in your corner? I'm just grateful that I have you, that I have Tony, that I have John in my corner, because there's no business challenge that I cannot overcome with these people around me, right? And it goes more than time. Do I have the time to show up for every call? Well, that honestly, the proximity and knowing that I have you all, I mean, that's my team, right? To defy all odds in a challenging market, right? So thank you. I'm really grateful that I get the opportunity to do that.
Well, you know what's so fun about that? Because it is who you hang out with. You become like the 5 people you hang out with. So who are you hanging out with? And what are you learning? There's people besides realtors in the inner circle. You're learning from all those people, all the businesses out there. Well, this is what we're doing with AI. This is what's happening. I mean, we learn from everybody and we then bring it into our own businesses. So let me ask you, we're about halfway through our enrollment. In fact, October 15th and 16th is the first event. And we have people going, oh, I can't make the first event, so I'm not going to do it. And I'm going, are you kidding? We Zoom you in if you desire. We'll do whatever we can to help you go, because I know that your business will grow to the extent that you do. Don't let your checkbook do the thinking for you. I mean, it's $1,500 a month, for heaven's sakes. I couldn't even imagine if somebody said you can have John Maxwell know you by name. We're only allowing 50 people in. What did you think of the smallness of the group? How did that help?
It allowed me to build stronger relationships. And honestly, I'm continuing because to me, it's not just knowing people, it's about building relationships. And honestly, in one year, I mean, yes, you get to know people, but you don't get to build like a very, very deep relationship. So for as long as you're going to do the inner circle and you're going to host these, I'm in. It's just because I see the growth. And to me, it's about, if we go back to time challenges, right? To me, it's compressing time. I believe that being part of this circle, I'm actually compressing time because I'm becoming the better version of myself in a shorter period of time. It is about the leaders leading the inner circle, like you, Tony, John Maxwell, but it's also about the leaders that are part of it, right? And what you're learning through those conversations. So every conversation helps me compress time because I'm learning from other people's journeys, right? And I don't have to just try and fail and try again and fail again and improve. I get to learn from other people's journeys. So yeah.
It's so important. And this year we're bringing on Chad and Danielle Reyes, who are generational wealth builders, knowing about trusts and annuities and all different ways to help us with our wealth and protect that wealth if something happens to us, so we're not leaving our kids in despair, right? Plus they're tax strategists, so that helps us as well to get that wealth brought in with relationship and leadership and just helping to round out, because life is not about balance. I'm so tired of hearing about, I have to live a balanced life. There is no such thing. It's rhythm. It's the rhythm of life. And there will be times that you have to jump in with both feet and give a lot. And then there's times that you can pull back. But these people that say, this is all I give, it's like, are you kidding me? That is not life. You're living some la la land illusion. And so with this being a way that you shortened your leadership and you made some decisions in the last year, what got you involved in the first place? Because when I called you, you went, I'm in. You got it right away. Why do you think people don't get the fact that they got to look in the mirror if things aren't working out?
That is such a good question, Dianna. It's honestly, excellence is a choice. Um, Excellence is a choice. And I do believe that we have to be very careful. What do we say yes to? And to me, I've always admired your high standards, your leadership. To me, just having the opportunity to be, honestly, in such a close proximity to you, Tony, and John Maxwell. I mean, I don't know. I think that to me, my brain cannot comprehend a no, right? It just, I don't understand why someone would say no to it, right? Unless obviously there's objections and there's conditions. And sometimes we do have conditions, right? Which I totally understand. However, the fact that I don't have time, right? Then what are we choosing to do in that time? Right? The fact that, honestly, when I found out about it, I told you that my biggest fear is not to be a lid on anyone. Remember when I told you also that I was in a place where I didn't have thinking time. My calendar was packed. I didn't have time at all on it. I didn't have time to plan. I did not have time to strategize. And I found myself in a place of reaction, right? I was reacting to to everything. I'm a good calendar follower, right? The first thing is, how do we create a habit to create a calendar? Then how do we follow it? So I got it to that extreme that I was following my calendar. I mean, literally, if I have to go to the restroom, I have to put it on I had to put it on my calendar because I didn't have time on it, right? But what I realized was that was an extreme. I didn't allow myself time to grow, to strategize, right? And I was reactionary, not proactive. And I was stuck. I was stuck, but I was stuck, not I was efficient, but I wasn't effective. There is a huge difference between being efficient and not being effective, right? I was efficient with my day. It was, if you look at my calendar, I was efficient with everything that I was doing, but I was not effective with building towards the mission, the vision that we have, right? I was stagnant there. And I think that this is what I needed. I needed something to get like a pattern interrupt for my brain to get me out of that efficiency and transition into effectiveness. Does that make sense?
Yes, it makes total sense, because once again, we're right back to, who do you hang out with? Who are you learning from? And are you learning in a big group that you really don't get a whole lot out of? Or is this specialized for you? It's like going to a general practitioner versus someone that is specialized in what you need. That's John Maxwell. He specialized in leadership. And as we do, they get once a month, just them and this little group with John. And our first event there in Atlanta, 3 hours with asking John questions. And like I said, they can zoom in if they can't make the actual event. And we have surprise experiences. You guys did zip lines, you did alpine slides, extreme tubing, the bobsled. I mean, we had you doing so many things. And some people went shopping, which was fun too, because historic downtown was fabulous. So what is your final words? What would you say to people? You're talking to your leaders right now because you're over leaders. What would you say to them to tell them they need to be part of this group?
Mm. Well, I would say the inner circle is a place of stunning excellence. It simply is, right? It's where you're reminded of who you are at your best, and then challenged to keep showing up at that level, right? We need those reminders. And it's not about training. It's not just training, even though we get a lot of it, right? It's a community. It's accountability, it's encouragement, and it's growth, all wrapped up into one. And also, it's a safe space to be vulnerable and a powerful space to be stretched. And I don't think there are plenty of leadership skills programs, right? We do need to work on developing our leadership skills, right? We get a lot of technical coaching, training, but not a lot of leadership. And I think that once we raise the level of our leadership, our business will grow. And even if that's not what we're seeking, let's think about our personal life. I'm a better mom. I'm a better wife. I'm a better friend. I'm a better sister. I'm a better daughter. I'm literally, I'm reminded about the best version of myself, the better version of myself. I haven't met the best version of myself yet. That's because I'm still working on it. But I would say that's what inner circle is. And I think for everyone listening, you owe it to yourself to make that investment. If I were to, I don't know, I would cut off several other things from my credit card statement before I would cut this off. Because I know that when we pour into this, we might not have an expense problem, we have a revenue problem. And you can't create revenue by cutting expenses. You create revenue by investing. And let's invest in ourselves first.
Well, and that's why you're the number one market center in the world. You get that. Simon Sinek said, if you're a leader, you never stop studying leadership. Get around the people that can train you and help you. If you want to be part of a very small group where John Maxwell actually knows you by name, and every month he's pouring into you, plus other thought leaders that we bring on board, 2 calls a month that are recorded that you can sit and watch at your convenience, and 3 events. And just because you can't make one of those events, well, we had 4 people last year that didn't make the first event. They still paid for it. And a couple of them sent somebody else, one of their team members, to attend. So if you're interested in the inner circle, please go to DiannaK.com. Dianna with 2 N's, DiannaK.com, or call Loredana. She'll tell you all about it. Okay? Loredana, thank you so much for being with us today. And I look forward to seeing you in October in Atlanta. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Dianna. Thank you. Bye-bye.